What's up, everyone? This is Yuri, aka Russian Prototype. It's Saturday, August 21st, and today we're going to talk about online dating in the United States of America. Man, oh man, what a topic! I cannot even tell you how many experiences I've had with online dating, good and bad, and what an incredible ride it has been. Just being kind of witnessing part of this history unfolding as it did. So I wanted to start actually by kind of diving into this history a little bit and uncover some of the main things that happened in the last 30 years, 25 years, and how it shaped online dating today. And of course, I would love to interact with all of you. I would like to take your questions, take your comments, and make it an interaction, not just me talking. All right. So let's just dive right in. So first thing that I was thinking about is the history of online dating, right? So when is it actually started? If you look online, I was surprised to see this, to be honest with you. So if you look online, you can see that the first site actually started in 1995, and the first online dating site apparently was Match.com. It says lonely hearts rejoiced as they could now feed and flirt, meet, not feed, meet and flirt with potential matches without having to change out of their pajamas. 1995. This is a long time ago. This has been 26 years. That's a long time. And so, how it worked generally, you would go to this website, you would create a profile. Um, I'm not exactly sure if subscription started right away or not, but it's safe to say that now, if you're going to go to these dating websites, they'll give you some sort of trial period, but for the most part, you're going to have to pay to be a member and to subscribe to their services, right? So you paid subscription, you create profile, and then you had opportunity to exchange emails. Back in the day, back in the 90s, you could start sending email to someone who was in a different part of the world. And that was the first time when all of a sudden your reach just went from your neighborhood and immediate geographical area to now you could literally talk to anyone who had internet. And that was a huge development in dating scene overall. The opportunity to contact someone in that type of way. And yes, people communicated via emails. Can you imagine this now? Just sending the email, waiting for a response, sending the email, sending pictures via email. I mean, people still do that, but that's not the mainstream online dating today, which we're going to get to. So, afterwards, after a while, we had emergence of social media. That was the next step. And social media changed yet again, changed the entire online dating picture not gradually, rapidly, rapidly. It's hard to find words here sometimes. It changed it so much. And I believe that the first step was MySpace in 2003. Now, based on Google, based on what Google tells us, the first, let me bring it in, the first social media platform was 6 Degrees. 6 Degrees was the first true social media site. And that happened to start, I believe, in 1997. Um, Now, I don't know how many of you use 6 Degrees and how many of you actually, remember this website. I remember MySpace that started in 2003. And MySpace was just this first legitimate social media platform where you could upload videos, you could comment, you had profiles. It was very interactive. People were actually communicating, and you could you could connect with people like this on MySpace, like this. And in 2006, it actually became the most visited site in the United States. 2006, MySpace was the most visited website in the United States, according to Wikipedia. And so that, I think these were the steps, right? First Match.com in 1995, then MySpace in 2005, 2006, then Facebook 2009, past MySpace. And I think what you see kind of start happening with these social media platforms is that people all of a sudden had direct access to each other, not just emails anymore, not just reading profiles. Now I can send a direct message to anyone who was on that platform. And I think that changed the game. To me, before I even start talking about dating apps, to me, this was not a breaking point. This was the change, the ability to contact someone directly via the website and have the direct communication with them, bypassing email, bypassing the website, direct communication. And also, of course, with Facebook, it just makes it so much easier to see somebody's profile, and you could see more information about a person. It wasn't just about a picture anymore. You could see where they were living, you could see their hobbies, you could see some of the things that they maybe were doing for a living. So you had a pretty good idea, pretty comprehensive idea of that individual, right? So you could vet this individual. And to me, I believe that was the start. Was the start of online dating that we know it today, because even before the dating apps came on the scene, people started communicating directly through Facebook. And you'll be surprised, but this is where sliding into the DM culture really started to thrive. people went crazy with it. People definitely did. Before I move to talk about dating app, let me see who's in the house. Let me see who's here. We have Heather in the house. Hello. How you doing? We have Sam in the house. What's going on, my friend? Glad to see you. We have Becky in the house. Hello, hello. We have Diana in the house. Hello, how are you today? We have Strong Ballerina in the house. She's saying online dating started with Yahoo chat rooms, 1997. Interesting. Very interesting. Still in the 90s. In the 90s. So it has been about 25 years. Can't believe it, but that's true. Cheyenne is in the house. Hello, thank you for being here. Yahoo chat rooms, 1996, 1997 were before MySpace. You could do private video chats, contact directly, audio chat, etc. Long time ago. A long time ago. I never used Yahoo chat rooms because I came to United States and in the beginning of 2000s. I remember this vivid place where you could communicate and interact with people was MySpace, right? I actually remember Yahoo Messages very briefly. Like it was it's like a distant memory, because we used dial-up in Russia in the 90s, and I did not want to be on that thing. This thing that we're making sound, and you have to connect through your phone line. That was a nightmare. So my experience was predominantly with MySpace, but it was interactive. I mean, you could see videos, you could see pictures, people were actually talking to you. It was like, oh my gosh, it was so different. So it was so new. It was cool. Cheyenne said, I was born in 1997. Welcome to the online dating age. This is great. Dial up. Yes, dial up indeed. So let's move on to one and only Tinder. Tinder was not the first dating app, apparently, according to Google. So let's see, where was I? Nope. When Tinder was created, September 12th, 2012, Tinder was created. Apparently, it was not the first one, but look at what Beginner's Guide to Dating Apps by Apple Store Story saying, why it's so dreamy. Tinder wasn't the first dating app, but it's the one that made swipe right a cultural phenomenon. A cultural phenomenon, they call it. Now, all of a sudden, you could swipe right, you could swipe left, and everything was at your fingertips. So that was the next level. Can you imagine it? And that's been 10 years. Can you believe that? Almost 10 years ago that started. Now, in your phone, you could actually see an individual. You could decide whether you like it or not, like him or her. Actually, you could go into a profile and see some information about the individual, right? You could learn on the fly, and you could select yes or no on the fly. And then if you match, then you could have direct communication. And so Tinder, I would agree that it's a cultural phenomenon because it changed the society. In many cases, people talk about hookup culture that it created because now you could match with people and have access to them sexually. And people took advantage of that and continue taking advantage of that. But I also want to remind you that many people got married and continue getting married from these dating apps. And so I just look up a quick statistic and I wanted to share it with you. According to the NAT 2019 Jewelry and Engagement Study, 22% of couples meet online and end up getting engaged. Tinder, the dating app behemoth, is responsible for matching 20% of all engaged couples who met online, with OkCupid, Bumble rounding up the top 3 websites. 22% people who meet online end up getting engaged. That's a significant number. That's a very significant number if you ask me. So it's not only bad. There are a lot of good things that come out of these dating apps. It depends on how you treat it. So I want to just tell you about my personal pros and cons that I highlighted in my mind, and I wanted to share it with you. For pros of online dating, obviously it's instant access. It's ease of communication. It is a remote vetting process. You can actually pre-screen individuals. You don't have to go. What I like about it is that you don't have to go to the first date. You don't. You look at the profile, you collect information, you make the best decision that you can make. And everything is in front of you. So you don't have to do much. To me, that's a pro. You can maybe find out something about the person that you don't like, and then maybe that will prevent you from going on an actual date with a person. With cons, I said that too many choices. The reason I said too many choices because think back in the day when you had limited number of choices. When you met this girl or when you met that guy, you would think twice about how to approach that situation. A lot of times, if you met somebody worthy in your neighborhood, right, in your immediate geographical area, then you would really give your best effort because, as far as what you knew, that was the best option around you. Well, now that's not the case, right? Now it kind of seemed like it became for some people a number game. If this thing doesn't work out, then somebody else will work out. There's plenty of people on this app. Why would I worry? Obviously it has a stigma and bad rap. Still, meeting on a dating app. If you look at some of the profiles, a lot of people will write, we told my mom, we will tell my parents we met at library or something like that. People kind of embarrassed to tell other people that they met on a dating app. And then of course there's wrong intentions. There's people who's going to be low quality people, who's going to try to fool other individuals, who's going to have their own agenda to feel that not going to be good for you, and who could be pretenders. One of the things that we talked about earlier this week. These are some of the cons to consider with online dating. Now, another thing that I don't think I've talked about just now is think about what it created. Think about the culture that it created and the freedom this online dating created. Because whether you're a man or woman, you can now date internationally. You can literally see an individual that you are attracted to and that you're interested in another country. And if you have means to, you can, if you're a man, you can fly her to where you at. Or if you're a woman, you can fly to him, or vice versa. You can invite him to come, or you can invite her to come. There are these boundaries, these limits that we've had before are pretty much erased. Whether you live in Europe and you've seen somebody in America, or whether you live in Canada and seen somebody in one of the African countries, it's no longer matter. Online dating, apps and the ability to meet people in technology democratize the entire thing. You can do whatever you want now. You can meet people. It's open. It's easy. It is available. And this is huge. This is huge, especially people with resources. They look at that. They look at it very differently because they don't have to. They don't have to settle. They can do whatever they want. If they want to meet somebody from another country, they can. Oh, Michael is in the house. What's up, buddy? MySpace was the first online dating app. I think it was. That's how I identify it. This was legit website that brought people together in a different way. I've never experienced. I know that Strong Ballerina mentioned Yahoo chat rooms. But if, as far as what I can remember, MySpace was it. I remember just like sending a comment to. I was living in. I think I was in Florida at the time, in Jacksonville. I just moved to Jacksonville not long ago, and I was just like found a random page of a woman in Ohio, and I thought she was attractive, and I was either commenting on her profile or commenting under her video, and then she responded. How many like, what are the chances now that you go on Instagram, you find somebody super attractive with a lot of followers, and they're going to respond to your comment. I mean, now it's not going to be as common, right? Especially people who have tons of followers, right? But back then it was all new. It was brand new. People were like open to communicate with other individuals. They were okay with that. It was almost borderline revolutionary. Let's see. See if there's any other comments. Tell me what you in the comment. Tell me your online dating experience. What website you use or what dating app you use, and was it good or was it bad? You don't have to necessarily go in depth, but just tell me what you used before and what was the outcome of that experience. Personally, for me, and I've shared it in my videos, I've had both. I've had a really good dating experience, um, meeting someone on Tinder, and I've had a very bad dating experience meeting someone on Tinder. So let's stay with Tinder and let's talk about it. But give me a comment, leave me a comment, let me know what your experience have been like, where you met the person, what platform, and whether or not it was good or bad. By the way, if you're just joining, be sure to smash this like button. Be sure to share this with your friend or your family member, because we're going to be dropping some knowledge. We're going to be communicating with each other, interacting. So I definitely want people to benefit and take advantage of this. Only four likes so far, 9 people here. What's going on with the rest of you? Are you too cool to leave a like? You too cool to leave a like? Maybe you are. I don't know. So that we are talking about Tinder. There are all kinds of people on these apps. There are all kinds of people. So what do you do to ensure that you actually meet a good quality person? Just like with anything else, you're going to have to come up um, with some sort of your own vetting process. I don't care what dating app you use. There's going to be some ways for you to determine some sort of system, internal system that you have to determine who's going to be good for you, who's not going to be good for you. I keep joking about like a specific list, a personality list, personality traits. I mean, that you would carry with yourself or have it in your mind, so you know how to vet people. Like for me, smoking is a big deal. When I see somebody smoking, it's automatically no for me. Disrespect is a big deal for me, right? So if I see that, if I feel that, there's automatically no for me. But Tinder, like any other app, it has tons of people. I don't know. I mean, it could be, I don't know if it's in billions, but we can see how many people on Tinder. There's actually probably most international app out of all of them. So let's see on Tinder. Wow, it looks like 6.6 subscribers globally. Look, the app was able to grow by 15% more users since the third quarter of 2019 and received a 16% boost to subscribers. Currently, Tinder now has 6.6 million subscribers globally, grown even more since June when company reported 6.2 million. Now keep in mind, this is subscribers, right? This is subscribers. This does not mean users, because I think in order for you to subscribe, you need to be actually paying. You need to be paying. And therefore, there's got to be, that number is going to be much greater. Whoa, now I can get back. What's going on? Hold on one second. Whoa. Oh, here I am. That was weird. This is so weird. Hold on. Hold on. Whoa. That was interesting. I don't know if you saw it, but my screen kept going like super large. So my point being, there has to be more people on the platform itself. This 6 million.6, that's just the number of people who actually paid. Total number would be much more. So like this is like crazy. This is a crazy number of people that using these apps and using these apps internationally. Given the fact that 22% of roughly, right, roughly of these users you end up getting engaged, hopefully getting married to, that tells you that the people actually find love on these online apps, dating apps. Um, so for me, the cool thing about Tinder in particular was the fact that you can meet people from a different culture, people that you can connect with in a different way. Um, but at the end of the day, you still have to do the work. You still have to do the work to figure out who these individuals are. And in my story, my personal story, I shared where I dated a person who ended up being completely, totally different person from what I expect her to be and what she showcased her to be, right? And that kind of shook me. That was like super painful experience. And then before that, I dated a person that I probably could have married. That's how good she was. I have a video on my page that's called "The One That Got Away." I'm talking in depth, about that particular individual and what happened with that relationship, and just wasn't ready at the time. I wasn't ready. I think she would have made a good, you know, good partner. Still Tinder, two completely different people, and I think that's just like that's how life is. You can have one tool and you can make a best of it, or you could just completely flunk it. You know? Let's look at the comments. Cupid is actually decent. You can put more information and more guys looking for a relationship. I had 2 serious relationship from OK Cupid. Yeah, here we go. I heard about it, but I don't think I've ever got in on this particular app. But you know, you have these opportunities now, and I'm glad to hear that it's not bad. I'm glad to hear that the app itself is actually has some good people on it. Right now, I'm on eHarmony, but there is not as many options as Tinder. But the pro is all the guys looking for a relationship. Yeah, I would imagine that places like eHarmony and Match.com would offer something of value, something of substance. I still heard some stories about people who can up. There's always going to be those things, and people deceiving. But if you have majority of people coming in with good intentions, and you can actually see who they are and what they like, and you can see potential, then it's a win-win. You can save a little bit of time. This is I believe a pro, right? Assuming the person is there's always the sub bullet. Assuming the person is represents himself or herself truthfully, this could be a huge time saver. You can get to know a lot about this person based on information that they put out. You can get to know them on a different level. You can research them in a way, right? What they do, what career they have, what hobbies they have. All of this could be researched beforehand. And look, some of you may be thinking like, well, that's actually not that great because it takes mystery away from getting to know each other. I don't think it does. I think it saves time. There's still going to be a lot of mystery. You're not going to know how this person is, how this person behaves. You're not going to know this person's, you know, all the traits of his or her personality. You're not going to know these things. You're going to have to meet with the person and experience that person firsthand. To me, you're just going to find out some baseline information about this individual. And to me, so if I know, that's just me, but if I know that person is a working person or a business person or some sort of like ambition person that's doing something with his or her life, right? It doesn't mean just a job. Maybe person in school, maybe person is striving for a specialty, right? Like web design. Uh, maybe person is, you know, trying to become a doctor. Maybe person is doing charity work or foundation work, whatever that is. Something that's shown drive, dedication, this is a very good sign in my opinion. And you can see those things remotely. You can see it based on the information that person provide. You can take a step further. You can research a person on social media, right? A lot of people do that. A lot of people research other people on social media, and I can't blame them. That's protecting yourself. That's being smart. That's being smart when you do that. What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on researching a person beforehand, but like going in depth and researching someone? Do you think it's a good thing or do you think it's a bad thing? If you just join us, be sure to smash that like button. We talk about online dating. We talk about dating apps and everything in between. What are your thoughts on researching the person beforehand, before you go on the first date with the person? Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? Cheyenne said, "Oh, I also tried Plenty of Fish, but too many old people. It's for older crowd. Maybe they should rename it Too Many Old Fish." Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, I like Badu. It's a Russian dating app, but you can meet people all over in different cultures. I like it, but sometimes same guys from Tinder. Badu. Interesting. 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 Speaking of Russian guys, my friend Zangief from Russia is here. What's up, buddy? Depends on how you treat this info. Okay. Give me more context. As an auditor, I'm telling you, extra info is never bad. I agree. Extra info is never bad unless it is a bad info. That's the way it goes. Let's see. Strong Ballerina said, I was going to look for a language partner on Tinder, but someone here said it's mainly for hookups. It still has that bad rep. It does. Many people use that for very reason. But that's not the only reason. Shane said, Yuri, I would like to hear more about your online dating experience. You've been catfish, ghosted. What girls are usually like? What's your type? Thank you for that question, Cheyenne. I've had some interesting experiences. One time, I've met someone on the app, and I went to meet them at the sports bar, and you know, I think she was texting me saying, "Hey, I'm on my way. I'm on my way. On my way," and never showed up. So it happened, right? So I suppose this is ghosted, right? Um, there was a time when I went on a date, and again, online stuff, meeting somebody on the app, going on a date, and just feeling like I wanted to leave the date right away. Just did not feel it, so that is another this is another good point about these dating apps, is that sometimes people put pictures that are 10 years old. You show up on a date, person looks completely different. And you're like, that is not your picture. That's not what you put on your profile. So why would you do that, right? Personally, it rubs me the wrong way. So when I see somebody like that, I'm like, man, this is a bad start. You are deceiving from the very start. You are deceiving from the very beginning. This is not a good beginning. Like how are we going to interact with you if you represented yourself from a get-go? Clearly your pictures is not what you look like right now. So that's a no-no. If you do that, you're not going to get a pass. And you shouldn't. I don't care if you're man or female. It's not about a gender. It's about your honesty. It's about your integrity. If you don't have integrity to showcase you who you truly are on a dating app, do you think you're going to deceive somebody to like you when when you're misrepresenting yourself? No. Heck no. No, 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 no. You will not. You will lose that game. You will lose that game. And so I've been in one or two situations like that, to where you come to a date and you just, I don't want to be here. I really, like, I'm if I was an asshole, I probably would just leave. If I did it today, if I did it today, I would consider leaving, because I don't even think it's a asshole thing to do. I think it's it is a bit mean by United States standards, but you know what? You misrepresented yourself. I don't have to give you an explanation if you misrepresented yourself. You are at fault. If I choose to leave this date because you did that, I should be able to do that with no problems. With some of this, I'll be honest, with some of this, it's almost became like social experiment. Some of these dates that I went to, I was just like, well, let's just go and see what happens. Let's just go and see how the person interacts. And it's crazy. It's funny, right? Because that, like, in my 20s, in my 30s, I never thought that I would have this channel. I never thought that I would be talking about these experiences. But here I am. And I can tell you that people people are so different. People are so very different. It's so difficult to define people. You just may never know who you're going to get. There are plenty of nice people on these apps. There are plenty of nasty people on these apps that you wouldn't want to be around. And sometimes it's hard to know until you actually meet them. But what girls are you usually like? What's your type? My type would be, when I say, obviously, that like physical attraction has to be there, it's not any particular type or shape. I think it's the person who would take care of themselves. You know, it would be a person who would be relatively easy to communicate with. I'm drawn to friendly personalities. So if we, on the first date, if and it's not about introverted or extroverted. Sometimes you meet an introverted person, and introverted person like kind of could be cute, in the whether in a dorky way or in a shy way, because they still will try to interact. They will still try to do their best. They will still take interest in you, and you can have a good conversation. So it's not just about introvert extrovert. It's about the feel, the energy that you get from the communication with that person. So it's not so much just about physical appearance, although I think that plays an important role. It's about the communication and chemistry, I guess, for the lack of the better word, that transpires during the date. I'm drawn to easygoing personality. I'm drawn to humor. I'm drawn to intelligence. I'm drawn to respect a lot. Somebody who's respectful in their communication, who's considerate. Um, if you on the first date and person is just start taking shots at you, like, you can have like a humorous, not humorous, but like conversation filled with humor and sarcasm. But if this sarcasm becomes like a little shots at you, like to put you down, like these subtle jabs to belittle you, sometimes people do that. I'm gonna cut this. It doesn't mean I always going to tell her necessarily, but chances are I'm not going to come to a second date, because there is this threshold, in my opinion, that you shouldn't hit. You play off of the person, of course. Sometimes you get super comfortable with someone on the first date and you joke around and you having fun, and that's okay. But sometimes there are people who are just kind of like trying you. They're trying you on the first date. They saying things that are kind of like questionable. See, I don't like that. I think that there's got to be some sort of basic level of respect that you display on the first date when you go out with someone, because you're really just introducing yourself. You are telling me who you are. If your introduction raises a lot of red flags, that's not a good sign. That just means that down the road you're probably going to be doing some crazy stuff. I can't really trust. I can't really trust the initial image being, being bad, and then just assume that you're going to turn good. It's hard enough. Even sometimes we talked about pretenders. Sometimes good people who come across as being very solid individuals, and sometimes like a dream partner, they end up showing their true face later, right? So if on the first date you have a lot of questions, then that is not a good pattern, in my opinion. But I would say that, Cheyenne, I would say yes, of course, it's about physical appearance, but person who can take care of themselves, who will show up on the date, that like take time to represent yourself in the positive light. You know, like you don't have to wear everything super fancy, but make yourself look good, make yourself look presentable, right? That's important. I think it's very important to communicate in a considerate way. Communication is a huge aspect of it, verbal and nonverbal, both. And all the things that I've mentioned already, such as humor, intelligence, respect, interest in another person. Um, Dignity is important too. Somebody who just start telling you the dirty laundry. I was on a date when the girl started telling me about her last relationships, which is fine. You can mention it, but when you start like when you open up this Pandora box and you telling me about two, three last relationships, what he did, I'm like, what are we on a therapy session here? Am I here just to hear about your relationships? Fine, you can mention it, but is it about getting to know one another right now, or is it about venting about your last relationships? Um, I think there are these considerations too. Sometimes you just have you walk away with this kind of sour taste in your mouth, like, oh, she talked about her exes the entire time, or half of the time she talked about her exes. Why? That's a first date. To me, that's just not a best way to approach it. Shane said, yes, Yuri, I research all of them and I check a criminal history too. Smart move. What's up, Letitia? Thanks for hanging out. Brazil is in the house. Becky said, I have had success with online international dating so far. It's hard for me to connect locally because I don't have much in common with the people around me. Look, and this is what online dating is all about. This is really an amazing opportunity to step out of your immediate geographical area and connect with people all over the world. And I would like to hear more about it. You know, is there a particular country or region of, if it's United States, what region or what country do you tend to connect with? What do you deem to be the difference, Becky, between, you know, dating locally? You said you don't have much in common, but what things in common do you find with people that you date online? That would be interesting to know. Strong Ballerina said, if an introvert is comfortable with you, you may think they're an extrovert. Trust me, I know. Good point. I think if conversation goes well and you connect, that boundary is erased rather quickly. Sometimes you go on a date and you have an amazing conversation. You just do. And you just started, having fun, talking about different stuff, and it just flows. And at first you feel like maybe you walk in on a date and you're thinking, oh man, what is it going to be? She seemed very shy. She seemed very reserved. And then, half an hour later, you have this open heart to heart conversation, and it's awesome. Right? If a guy takes me to a bar on the first date, I don't go on the second date. A bar is not a nice surprise. Oh, interesting. Interesting. So, what is the reason for that? Do you foresee, or do you view bar as sort of a negative place to be? What if a guy who took you to the bar is actually a nice guy? Cheyenne, or I felt that, Yuri, I went on a date and the guy talked about his ex-girlfriend the whole date. Cringe. Look, this comes down to emotional intelligence, I think. Awareness. You have to treat other people how you want to be treated. Like if somebody was talking to you about their exes all the time, how would you? So let me tell you this quick story, okay? I went on a date. This is actually relevant, so I'm going to mention what happened on my date. So I've met, I think this person we met on Bumble. Yeah. So we went on a date. She was attractive. We went to this restaurant in town, and first of all, she came in. She came in 30 or 40 minutes late. Like it was a significant time. It wasn't just 5 or 10 minutes. It was like 30 or 40 minutes. Granted, she told me she was driving from her parents' house, and it was like further north, up north. So she got stuck in traffic. And so fine, I gave her a pass, like not a huge deal, right? Then we were on a date, we were talking, and she kept bringing up her exes. She kept bringing up her exes. Uh, she was telling me about like one ex, then she was telling me about her other ex. Um, then she talked a little bit about herself. Um, she talked about like what she was looking for. So there was a lot of information mixed in from the past relationships. And then on top of that, then she texted me after the date and said like, "Hey, I'm sorry, but I'm not interested." And I'm like, you're gonna come in late. You're gonna talk about your exes on the date, and then on top of that, you're not even interested. Like what? It was almost borderline humorous to me. I was like, this is a waste of time. This is a huge waste of time, right? Why am I telling you this story? Is because, like, at the end of the day, people are going to do whatever they want to do, you know, and people are going to talk about whatever they want to talk about. But I think that some people don't have awareness. Like, I think some people don't really understand how to convey communication and how to talk to someone on a date. Now, look, I'm not an expert. Maybe other people think the same thing about me. I don't know. You know, I have no idea. But I just know that talking about other individuals to make a conversation, it doesn't seem to be the best way to go. And Cheyenne, based on your comment, I think you feel similarly. What's up, Brian? How are you? Brazil is in the house. We have a couple of Brazilians in here. Brazil, Brazil. I love Brazil. I want to go to Brazil. It reminded me of a guy who kept talking about girls he hang out with, and he kept talking about sex with these girls and etc. Why would I want to know that? Like, what? Yep, it's really annoying. Maybe he thought that some women are attractive to that. Maybe he thought that, hey, if she sees that I had more women in the past, that's a good determination, or it's a good thing to do to showcase that I have what it takes. Maybe that was the train of thought. I don't know. but in this case, it clearly didn't work. I mean, bragging about how many people that you connected with or hang out with in the past or dated in the past doesn't seem to be the best way to go. Come to Brazil and you will find out what being late means. I can only imagine. I have a Cuban friend, a common friend. If Mike's still watching, we have a Cuban friend, couple of Cuban friends. They might see this. If they see this, what's up? These dudes are always late. They were late yesterday. We were doing a Zoom session that they were supposed to be at 6:45. Fine, they said they were running late. I left the Zoom session at 7:40. They still weren't there. 6:45 was the beginning of a Zoom session. At 7:40, they still weren't there. Freaking Cubans, man. It's not even about Cubans. It's about you. You need to work on yourself. If you can't make it, tell other people, I cannot make it. I'm sorry. Don't tell people I'm going to come late and then don't show up at all. What's wrong with you? Yeah, I'm talking to you. You know who you are if you're watching. Both of you. Go somewhere else with this crap. You're not a baby anymore. Sometimes I really think guys are going to talk about other girls to make it seem like a lot of girls want him. That could be strategy. That could be strategy. Like, hey, look at me. I have stripes on my belt, right? I earn my stripes. I have what it takes. Look, other women like me before. That means maybe you should like me too. Does it work for someone? There's going to be men who will tell you, there are probably books out there and online programs about that people will try to sell you, trying to convince you that it works. It looks like Letitia's agreeing with Brazilians being late. I thought that was just a Caribbean thing, like Puerto Rican, Cubans. Are you telling me that Brazilians are the same? I hope not. I hope not. It's usually indicative of when the person spends their time. It seems 80-ish% correct. It matters because I don't like bars and I don't like being around drunk people. They are annoying. Yeah, I think it's reasonable. I think that if you communicate that to other people in advance and tell them, hey, this is the reason I don't want to go out to bars, they should be understanding of that. They should be okay with that, I would think. It's reasonable. How could she not be interested in you? She's crazy. Sounds like she just wanted to vent, maybe get a free meal. Look, people don't match. Just because you match on social media doesn't, I mean, on a dating app, does not mean you're going to match in real life. There are too many things that go into it, right? I never think of, like, I think when I was younger, maybe I was a little bit cocky, but now I realize, look, it's nothing is guaranteed. You may go on a date and you think conversation is going great, everything is going great, but the other person just didn't feel that chemistry, and there's really nothing you can do about it. Um, that's why you can't you can't get upset. When you get upset about this is just going to be worse for you. This is going to affect you mentally, emotionally, spiritually, God forbid, physically, more so than another person. If there's no connection, there's no connection. And sometimes, sometimes, you know what, in the past, there were situations where people would break up with you. I've had a situation where I dated someone in college. She broke up with me, but then she comes back and asks you back. She's saying like, "Hey, can we actually resume this relationship?" The answer is always no. The answer is always no. That line of credit is closed. Once you go bankrupt with the bank is not going to give you another loan. This is my stance on it. Doesn't mean that I'm not going to change it. I have a right to change it. But right now, and it's been like this for a while, why should I trust someone who what's the word? Why should I trust someone who decided, not just decided, but who purposely, intentionally, you know, exclude me, and who essentially said, "No, thank you. I don't want to date you." Why would I want to give him a second chance? Does that make sense? If you want someone, I think the true friendship, the true something that will, I think that a lot of people looking for, like that true connection, a relationship that can grow into something, right? That should be. So this is where we're going to talk about ideals. We kept dancing about this subject a lot, but there has to be some sort of bond. I believe there has to be some sort of bond that is where you feel like, I need this person in my life. I want that. Not even I need. I need is the wrong word. You shouldn't need that person in your life. You should want that person in your life. And when you want that person in your life, you're not going to just break up with him. You're not going to just break up with him. And we talked about first addressing your own situation, working on yourself, understanding what it is that you want before you really start dating. I'll be honest with you. That is the reason, that's a big reason why I haven't been dating lately. I need to go in my own world. I don't want to be keep going on these dates, spending time, spending money. It's a waste. I don't care if I don't have somebody. I don't need it. I need to figure out what I want, who I want, and who I can connect with, right? But first I need to figure out everything about myself internally and be ready for that kind of possibility. Because if you're not ready for that kind of possibility to where you can create a bond, if you're not even open to that to begin with, I don't think it's going to happen. Becky said, I tend to like men from Russia and Northeastern Europe. I feel like I can be myself. Here I'm chastised. difficult word, for not being superficial enough and not smiling all the time. I am more direct and reserved. That's really cool. That's really cool. Yeah, a lot of Russian men actually reserved as well. A lot of Russian men not going to share their emotions. A lot of them going to be introverts, and I think I think women are drawn to that. A lot of women are drawn to that. Now, they also get bad rep because how aggressive they can be. They get bad rep because of bad habits. I have a video on that. Smoking, drinking, sometimes yelling. 3 things that I discussed in the video. So those things are real, you know. But there are also some good qualities. There are true good qualities. Russian men are hardworking. Russian men appreciate their woman. They open to take care of the woman that they love. Many of us have excellent sense of humor. Ah, this is fun. This is fun. Someone showed up very late once. I didn't answer the door. Another time at prom, he was jerk, so I went to after prom with someone else and had a great time. that that brought memories. When I went to the prom, so when I went to the prom back in high school, that was forever ago. That was like 2002, American high school. Mind you, I was the oldest kid in high school. I was 19 in high school because I started late. And they were like, this is just hilarious to talk about it. There were two, they were twins. They were twins that I got to know. And I've met the first one. I've met her, I think, in the typing class, computer typing class, you know. And then later I met the second one. I think I met her through her sister. So we all like became friends. And so I invited one of the sisters. I want to say actually the second one that I've met, not the first one, but the second one I invited to the prom. High school was a shit show. It was a shit show. So I invited her to the prom, but then she had another friend. There was a girl, not part of their family, completely different girl that twin was friends with. And that girl apparently insisted to go on a double date. So I don't know if another girl like me or what was the case, because we ended up going on this double date to dinner beforehand. We took pictures. I remember they came to my house. We took prom pictures. They're probably still somewhere in my house. I need to find it and show it to you. I need to make content on that because that's hilarious. These memories. This is amazing. So long story short, we did a double date to go to the prom. Then at the prom, it was weird because she was hanging out. Maybe I was weird. I don't know. But it felt weird to me because she was hanging out with somebody else most of the time, and she kept telling me about like the plans that she was gonna that they were gonna go somewhere and do something that I think revolve around drinking after the prom or whatever. And I was like, I'm not even interested. I just want to enjoy the prom. And I never went with her after the prom. I just went home because the energy wasn't there. That's what I'm telling you. Energy is a real thing. I'm when it comes to that, especially back then, I was very straight shooter, very direct. If something was not like, if the energy wasn't there, if the feeling wasn't there, if I felt like the focus was on different, look, maybe it's a little bit selfish of me. I admit it. Maybe it's a little bit selfish of me, but I think it's not unreasonable. I think it's reasonable to, to want your prom date to hang out with you and to really have this good time together, right? But I didn't feel that. So anyway, strong ballerina. That was a segue. That was a significant segue, just because you brought up prom. Interesting stuff. Interesting times. Mike said, "Yeah, man, gotta love our Cuban friends. This is much of Miami too. Prototype, not exaggerating." Oh my goodness. Look, one more thing about this. You can say whatever you want about where you're from and what experiences you've had in the past. But if you're not going to be considerate of other people, it's going to catch up with you. Don't be surprised if you're treated differently. If you constantly coming late, if you constantly not making another person a priority, who makes you a priority, you going to have eventually a different relationship with that person. People will give you a pass, but I think reasonable people will not sacrifice their time and their plans for you all the time indefinitely. It's not going to happen. So you can say that where you're from affects the way you're doing things, but there comes a time in life where you have to make a decision what kind of person you're going to be on your own, regardless of where you're from or regardless of influences that you had. And you can decide to continue on with what you've been doing, or you can decide to do something different and take your own road. So you have to choose wisely. Cheyenne said, Yuri, I'm remembering correctly that tomorrow's your birthday. Correct. Tomorrow is my birthday. Thank you for bringing it up. I don't know how I'm going to celebrate it yet. Actually, maybe going to see Mike. We'll see. Letitia, I was never focused on dating. I've always just lived my life. After all, I don't want to get into a relationship where the guy thinks he has to control me. You seem like a Letitia. Obviously, I haven't interacted with you a whole lot, but based on the stories that I see on Instagram of you, you seem like a very laid back person, easygoing person. And I mentioned it before. I think that for me, as a man, you know, if I am hanging out with easygoing person, someone who's just relaxed, that kind of puts me at ease too. You know, when you're hanging out with someone who's always stressed or, you know, always worrying, that's a different feel altogether. And there's something to be said about people who don't act desperate in dating and in relationships. There's there's a certain attraction, I think, about people who are okay with any outcome. You know, when you're on a date with someone who is so relaxed, imagine yourself on a date with a guy, with a man who is just chit-chatting, having conversation, having a good time, smiling, having a drink, having a bite to eat, and just conversating. And he's okay with whatever's going to happen. Same thing with the woman. You know, you're on a date with a woman who is just okay with any outcome. She's not seeking any particular outcomes. She's just there to meet you and take him one step at a time. There's something to be said about that. I think this is the way to do it. When you start feeling like person has an agenda, oh yeah, I gotta get married. I gotta get married. In year and a half, I want to have a family. I want to have a house. I want to have 3 kids. Hold on, honey. Pump the brakes. I don't even know you. You telling me this automatically puts a deadline on this relationship. And I just met you. That is, listen, I understand that people may think that way. I understand that people may have those goals, but I truly believe that life does not work that way. I truly don't believe that when you meet somebody online and you come in on the first date with them, and when you hear, whether you hear it from a man or a woman, when you hear the deadline, that that's going to impress you in a positive way. I don't believe so. I think if anything, you will be like, oh, that means I have to make wedding accommodations in 6 months. I don't think I can commit to that. Sorry, this date is over. I don't even want to pay the bill anymore. But I guess I have to stay here to finish my French fries. Oh my God. Oh, this is good. We have some conversations. Are you talking about me? Why you said that? What did I say? What did I say? Are you telling people, Cheyenne, are you telling people on dates, do you have a deadline to get married? Is that what you're doing? If you are meeting a man on the first date and you tell him the deadline to get married in 1.5 years or 1 year or 2 years, then I guess I'm talking about you. Look, you can do whatever you want. This is not a therapy session. I am not telling you what to do and what not to do. I'm simply stating that on the receiving end of it, as a man, it feels rather odd. It feels rather odd because this is not a natural progression of things. Natural progression of things is for two people to spend time and to gauge, do we have a connection? Do we want to continue a relationship? Well, see, I think it works opposite. Relationships work somewhat opposite from career, because when you're career driven and when you have specific goals, you have to set a goal and you have to have a deadline. I don't believe that you can do that with relationships, because relationships involve two people, two parties, right? When you're talking about career goals, when it's just you in control. When you talk about relationships and dating, you only in control of 50%. 50% has to come from another person. So if you saying to someone that I need to get married in a year and a half, it almost comes across as if it's only about you. I think a better way to go is to ask a question. Well, how do you feel about marriage? How soon would you like to be married? Because otherwise, you're just pushing your agenda. And that usually doesn't work too well, in my opinion. Pushing your agenda doesn't work too well. People not going to be, a lot of people, like, I don't I don't think people will be thrilled about that. She's coming in and she's already like making demands. But let me know in the comments. Are you telling people to be married in certain time period? Is that your strategy? Would love to hear from you. Letitia, I try to respect different opinions. I don't like fighting. I always try to respect people's space too. I don't think I'm a problem girl. I think the guy who dates me won't have a problem. Letitia, this is huge. I talk about peace all the time. Peace of mind, that is, right? When you can be in a peaceful relationship where you don't have to worry about your partner acting out or acting up, right? When your partner does not give you stress, if your partner is a support for you and your partner is relaxed, your partner can make you feel relaxed. This is a huge, huge positive in the relationship, in my opinion. This is really, really big. So there are, you know, what's really interesting about your comment, that there are many people who don't respect people's space. There are people who live, who are so focused on their significant other that they don't have their own hobbies, their own interests. They are not their own person. And when that happens, like, it could feel suffocating in the relationship. You know, it could feel like this person always in your case. She's always around you. She's always wanting something. And the question is, how can you get to a balance to where you're both spending your own individual time and you both your own individuals, and you can respect the space of other people, but at the same time you can come together and have a good time, balanced time together, and really thrive as a couple. So this is good. I think that if you single right now, I think this is going to be really good selling points for your significant other in the future. Brian has said, here most women act like desperate. We can feel kilometer away. That is not the case in the United States. Not at all. And you can argue with me in the comments and tell me your thoughts about it, but I think if anything, there's this notion in the United States a lot of times now that women feel so proud, and a lot of women feel like they don't even need a man. At least that's what we see a lot in the media. We have these power women who, you know, who want to be like, they're already independent, but they, it's almost like there's messages that like, hey, no man is necessary. What are your thoughts on that? Do you feel that too? Can I provide some clarity? Some people don't have a deadline. They just don't want to waste time dating someone that isn't marriage minded, which is fine. I get it. I completely get it, strong ballerina. And, you know, women have biological clock too. So I understand that they need to be, you know, a lot of women are very serious about dating and they don't want to be wasting time. What I was talking about is that how this message is communicated. I don't think that you should, as a woman, to come in and to say to someone, I need to get married in a certain time period. I think you need to vet, you need to gauge what this man wants. You need to ask appropriate questions. You need to find out, is this man a serious candidate to dating and to get married? Because you know why? Number one, when you're going to be openly communicating your deadline, right? Or the goal of getting married by a particular, in a particular time span, you going to inadvertently scare away a lot of men. Because that's not, for one thing, marriage is a huge commitment for a guy. Huge commitment. A little bit different than for a woman. It's a different ball game. All right. Secondly, I don't think you're going to know the alternative anyway. Whether you're going to tell him or not going to tell him, you're not going to know the alternative. But I think that you have a better chance with that person if you don't voice that, right? Because you can voice it and he may agree, but then he might break up with you 5 months later once you've been intimate. So just because he agreed to what you've communicated doesn't mean anything. But I can, from a man perspective, I can just tell you that when I hear that, that does not make me feel, it makes me feel pressure. It makes me feel like, okay, this woman has a specific goal in mind. She has an agenda, and this is this goal, this agenda is more important than for us to develop a true connection, a true relationship. So, if somebody, the equivalent of that would be, we need to go to Hawaii, but we need to go to Hawaii because I need to see my family. That's the sole purpose, right? If somebody tell you, I'm going to go to Hawaii to see my family, that's my purpose, then you're thinking, okay, we're going to go to Hawaii to see my family. It doesn't mean her family. It doesn't mean that I'm actually going to go and see all these beautiful places, volcanoes, beaches, all the landscapes. We're going to go see her family, right? That's the objective of the trip. So when you communicate something like that, it becomes an objective. And if your objective does not line up with my objective, then how is it going to work? So again, coming back to what I started saying, how can you do that? In my opinion, you ask questions. You see what this man wants. Ask him what he wants. Ask him the reaction if you talk about that, you're interested in getting married, right? Without putting the date on it, right? Becky said, I'm afraid of marriage. The guy would have to be pretty special for me to take that step. The girl would have to be pretty special too, Becky. At the same time, it is too sad because they're worried about this question instead of enjoying life and let things happen. That's it. That is it. That is it. Nobody, look, when people come into dating, what do they really want? They want to find somebody that they like. Me, I'm gonna tell you what I want. I want to find someone at this point of my life. I want to find someone. There are a few things. I want to be physically attractive to a person. Yes, I'm not denying that. That's important because attraction is important. But I want to find somebody that I can count on, that I can connect with, right? That I can do life with, right? So what does it mean to do life with? Have fun, enjoy each other's company. If I think that if you're talking about people with deadlines and people who so focused, they probably will work for somebody else. Maybe they will. I'm not saying that that's a lost cause. Maybe with some people they will work. But for me, it's not the best. Enjoying life, let things happen. It's great. At some point of a relationship, if you get in a committed relationship, you're going to have these conversations. I just think the timing of the conversation about marriage, about staying together, is not the first or second date. First or second date is important to understand if you are even the person qualified for this conversation. This, in my opinion, that's what it is. This time we spend is pre-qualifier. You have to qualify to compete in Olympic Games. Just because you did well before or because you're a good athlete, you're not going to go to Olympic Games. So why people act like just because you're going to have a conversation with someone about getting married in 1 year and person agreed, you feel like, oh, they pre-qualified? No, that's a poor pre-qualification method. A solid pre-qualification method is spending time getting to know the person. And that takes a little bit of time. And I'm sorry if you in a time crunch to get married, but how can you go around that if you're not willing to invest a little bit of time? If there are red flags on the first date, don't go on the second date. You got to go through this process if clearly something is off, and if that person does not meet your standard. But the premise that you're just going to figure it out on the first date based on what another person said, that's not realistic to me. Yeah, I'm single and I look. People like to complicate things. I met a guy that I am 100% sure he loved seeing me angry, always testing me, so annoying. Stay away from toxic people. People who testing you, all this BS, cut it out. I ain't got no time for that. Go somewhere else with this crap. I have zero tolerance for that. And it takes time to get to that point, but you can be beautiful. You can be career driven. You could be wonderful person, but if you're doing this, no. Peace. Peace of mind more important. Just enjoy life, man. You don't need to be desperate. You're just going to hurt yourself. It's hurting you first too. It does. Here, this thing doesn't happen much. People say about empowering, but at the same time, if you don't have a man by your side, society pressures you. Not here, not in the States anymore. Not in the States. You can have a dog and a cat and be happy old person. I don't want to I don't want to be led on by a guy that's not looking for the same. Doesn't mean I'm settling deadlines. I usually say not until after I finish my degrees though. Sheehan, I think talking is important, but observation is extremely important. Observation and getting to know the guy. You know? It's a settle things, right? Does guy use his phone on the first and second date? Is the guy gets distracted when he's talking to you? Is do you see any other signs, like good signs too? Are there good signs? Is he focused on you during the dates, right? What does he do? Like once you start get to know him a little bit more, you can make those decisions, you know. But I think it takes a little bit of time to get to know other people. But women also must take in consideration our eggs can have children at 60 like man. Yeah, biological clock is real. Hello, Jane. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for joining. I hope you are well as well. Unless you're Roxette, didn't she have a baby in her 60s? Maybe. I don't know. Did she? It takes a lot of quality time. It does. It sure does. Exactly. When men test us, they test themselves. When they play games like that, they show us who they are. Mm. Mm. Interesting. Strong ballerina, you should come to be a live guest. You don't have to have your camera on if you don't want to, although I encourage that. It would be great to hear from you. You have some good thoughts. The only thing I feel any real pressure about is deciding if I want to have any children. I just turned 40 this summer. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, Becky. Yuri, remember you have meeting. Yes, I do. Thank you so much, Shane. I appreciate you. I've been looking at the clock. All right, so let's do a quick vote before we get out of here. I didn't plan to do a live stream tomorrow, but we could do it if people are interested. And if people are interested, what would you want to talk about tomorrow? It could be birthday edition live show. Put a comment. What subject would you want to discuss tomorrow if we had a live stream tomorrow? What would you want to talk about? I don't know how in depth we really talked about online dating today, but I think it was still a good conversation. I still enjoyed it thoroughly, as always, connecting with the Prototypes community and chatting with all of you. Based on what we talked about today, I'm trying to think, how can we dig deeper into some of these subjects of online dating? If there is some specific area of online dating that we can talk about. I know we touched on first dates a lot. We touched on good things to do and deadlines that not so good. Um, and I wonder what else we can explore. Looks like M has a comment. I noticed that some men I have come across on dating app who don't have good intentions try to mimic my relationship goal answer. Yeah, this is a tough one. This is a tough one. We talked about pretenders on Wednesday, I believe. So there's the entire live stream dedicated to pretenders. But not having good intentions could be another topic, certainly. But my question to you, Am, that's tough. That's tough when people trying to fit what you're talking about in their actions. Um, what if we talk about behaviors? What if we talk about behaviors on the first date or when you just first start dating? Maybe recognize some signs. I think that would be good, right? If we talk about behaviors and maybe some strategies or of how to navigate first dates or first couple of dates to kind of identify maybe some of the behavior patterns and recognize the difference between good intentions and bad intentions. How about we talk about that? How do you feel about that? Bad intentions versus good intentions in dating. How about that? Give me hashtag bad intentions if you like this topic in the comment. Comment hashtag bad intentions. I'm just writing it down. In dating. So I'm thinking the topic to have this topic is bad intentions versus good intentions in dating. How do you feel about that? Strong Ballerina said, that happens a lot. They try to mirror you to build a connection. It happens. It does happen. His family not liking you, your family not liking him, interracial dating, large age gap, relationships. Oh, these are all suggestions. That's awesome. I will take a screenshot of that really quickly. Thank you for that, Cheyenne. You're always full of ideas too. I like that. I like that, like that, like that. Just screenshot it. This is cool. Introverts and extroverts in dating. Yeah, that's another good one. Bad intentions, bad intentions. So few of you want to hear that. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that because I think that came up quite a bit. Give me a favor. What really help? What would really help? Um, if you could, if you're interested in this topic, and if you're so inclined, if you come across any valuable resources, whether an article online, whether a study online, whether a video, a post pertaining to this topic, bad intentions versus good intentions in dating, and it doesn't, of course, as long as it relates, doesn't have to be titled that way, as long as it relates to this topic, please share it with me on Instagram. I'm on Twitter too, but you can send me, I think most of you connect with me on Instagram at Russian Prototype. So share those things with me on Instagram. I had Tinder banner for a while. Wow. Share with me the information you come across on Instagram. And I will include some of that in the live stream tomorrow. Okay? Because there, I mean, I'm a one-man show, so anything, any information that you send to me that valuable helps a lot. Whether, and also it's not just about research, it's also about your experiences. So if you made some observations, like Strong Ballerina were making comments, was making comments earlier. If there's something that you came across like this that you deem valuable, send that information to me. What are the points of discussion that I need to include in this live show tomorrow? Because this is a really complicated one. This is plays into human psyche, and people, both genders, they learn how to navigate that stuff. They learn how to navigate that stuff to get what they want. And many people are very skillful of that. They can disguise their true intentions very, very well. So let's kind of like have this team approach to that. Any information that you find that you really deem useful, valuable, share it with me, and we will include it. What did you say? I did a pheromone experiment once. I'm not familiar what that is. Send me, what is that? Send me the stuff. Send me information on the Instagram. That sounds interesting. Prematurely, but I appreciate you saying thank you. So, my friends, tomorrow let's plan tentatively at 12 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Stay tuned on updates through my Facebook posts on the community tab and on my posts on Instagram. But we will plan to go live tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time and talk about bad intentions versus good intentions in dating. It's going to be an exciting talk. Send me some information if you come across anything interesting that you deem important to discuss during this live show tomorrow. This, I think, is outstanding topic, and I really really would love to bring some value to the community with some tangible points. Tangible points. With that being said, my friends, thank you for joining. I will see you tomorrow, 12 p.m. It was so much fun to hanging out with you and to talk about online dating in United States. And I know we kind of talked about it in the beginning and then branched out, but the conversation was awesome as always. I'll be seeing you tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Birthday Live Show edition. I wish you a happy Saturday, and I will see you Sunday. Peace.